This next person has written in and said, I always felt the Powers of Pain and Hercules should have got a bigger push back then, but nothing could ever rival Hulkamania. So I'm actually going to add on to this and say this leads me to this question. In a company full of body guys, do you think there was any like rivalry or, other body guys looking at you, and maybe thinking, man, he's really big, and sort of judging you purely on size, or maybe even a bit of jealousy between the body guys? Is that something I'm making up in my head, or is that something in reality?
No, I'm sure there was. It's like any sport. It's like bodybuilding and everything else and that stuff, There's always animosity when it comes to somebody might be bigger, better, look better, and everything else and that stuff, but you just kind of kept it to yourself and that, it's the way the business is.
Well, you can only control your own destiny in that sense.
That's right. Yep.
Now, quite a lot of fans have written in because they want to know, bodybuilding stuff as well, and, comparisons with other wrestlers. This fella says, how big were yours, Barbarians, and Ultimate Warrior's arms in 1989? And did they ever work out together? And what were their lifts? But comparing arms and size and all that kind of thing.
I had the biggest arms. Warrior was just shredded. His arms weren't really that big. He was just shredded. I mean, he looked incredible. Barb's arms were big. Barb had humongous triceps, huge triceps. We weren't really, the only one that kind of got into the arms thing was the Animal Me. We'd always joke about it, who had the bigger arms and that stuff all the time, it's, I really couldn't tell you much more than that. We just enjoyed training.
Now, this person's already said, but you pretty much answered it. Did you ever work out alongside the Ultimate Warrior, and any stories of Ultimate Warrior?
I never worked out with Jimmy. Jimmy always trained on his own. Jimmy was Jimmy. He did his own thing, and that's why I loved him for it, because he didn't bother anybody. He just did his own thing. Probably the story I'd have one time is we couldn't get any food or anything else and that stuff, and he was all pissed off, and so he had a big, huge bottle of aminos, and he just opened his mouth and just started dumping the aminos into his mouth. I can't take this anymore. I gotta eat. I'm just gonna eat these aminos. I'm just gonna keep shoving them down my throat, and just water and aminos and water and aminos. I mean, that's the way Jimmy was. Jimmy was a fanatic. He was.
Now, I asked quite a lot of people about Ultimate Warrior because, people love Ultimate Warrior stories, and depending on the person, we run the gamut of, really loved him to really didn't love him, and,
Sure.
Stories of also him knocking out quite a lot of jobbers. Seems to come out quite a lot as well. But I know for a fact that you're a big fan of Jim, Ultimate Warrior. Why is he mostly misunderstood?
I believe he's misunderstood. The Jimmy I knew was very, very nice, very, very giving. Everything else and that stuff. Listen, people say good and they say bad about Jimmy, and everybody has their own opinion. But like I say, the Jimmy I was around, I got along with great, and I love Jimmy. I love being with him.
Was he the guy who would blow up the quickest?
Yeah. But when you got to do what he did, let me tell you, you got to come out of that locker room, and you got to go from 0 to 100 just like that. And you got to run to that ring. You got to run around the ring. You got to jump up on the apron, back and forth in the apron, shaking those ropes, in the ring, shaking those ropes, then hit the ropes inside. My God, it's just, you've been sitting there the whole night, and also you got to go 0 to 100, and I would be blown up too. I'd be all blown up.
How did you make sure that you didn't get blown up in matches? Because, you're even bigger than Jim was. So, I mean, advice as far as basically pacing a match and not killing yourself out there every night.
Exactly what you just said. You pace the match. If you start getting a little tired, you grab a hold. You grab a hold till you catch your breath and that stuff, and you go into another spot. And if you're a little tired, you grab a hold again. That's what you do.
One last thing about Warrior is that I believe he bought into a promotion in Las Vegas called NWC in 1995. Did he bring you guys in after he bought it?
No, never did. Never worked with Jimmy after that.
No?
I did one time on a European tour. I think it was in 93 or 94. But other than that, no, nothing with Jimmy.